Hey Dodger Game viewers, this Mormon Truth video is going to be looking at comments, responding to some comments, reading some comments from recently, and particularly about yesterday's video, which kind of drew a few. Yesterday's video was LDS First Presidency and Quorum of the 12 groveling in Rome at the Pope's feet or something like that. At the Vatican. Well, I guess I'd have to click on it to see what it actually was as far as the title goes. But we've got some comments to go over, and I'm going to be multitasking. I'm doing a little exercise, just walking in the park at this point. I already did some workout. I'm battling against out of shapeness. And I will win. So, today is 3/11, March 11th, 3/11. How symbolic would that be? The 11th letter of the alphabet, K, 3 times K, KKK. The KKK was formed by, 3 times 11, 33, 33rd degree Freemasons probably, huh? Well, Albert Pike, yeah, he was in on that. He was head of the Supreme Council as a 33rd degree Freemason. I don't know who the other folks were. I'm not a real buff on the KKK, but, there are so many symbolisms and numeric symbolisms placed in the way things are done by occultists to leave clues as to who the video or the book or the event or the group is serving or formed by. They are signatures that we see in corporate logos all the time, whether it's the 666 in Disney or in the Time Warner cable, which also has the all-seeing eye, or, I could go on and on. It helps if I'm looking at them. But here we are at 3/11. Dave Norman, do you have something to say about that today? Probably some kind of occultic activities are being devoted specifically to the the Luciferian lords today. Anyway, let's get into the comments and see, because I know we've got some of my favorite commenters there recently, and now here we go. Multitasking while I'm walking, please don't be too upset that I have to do a little walking. It takes a while to load because I don't have the best internet here in this location, but it's better than some. Okay, and that's going to have to backtrack here, and we're just going to go to the comment section here. How do we do this? I'm a YouTube creator. Comments. All right. Let's just scroll down just a little bit. See where they started. All right, let's go right here. Throw some glasses on here. Wow, amazing to see the leaders of the one and only true church, whose scripture trashes the Catholic Church and all other churches, meet with the one and only true church, with the only vicar of God, or vicar of Christ, by whose decrees councils have deemed anyone who goes against the decrees an abomination. Also worthy of noting that every political leader on the planet who meets the Pope must wear black suits and bow down to the Pope and kiss his ring. Nelson and Ballard are wearing dark blue suits. Ooh, they rebelling. While all others are wearing black because they are told they will wear black. look closer into how the Catholic Church ultimately rules through papal decrees, religious rules through papal decrees, religious beehive of control, basically like executive orders, through the British Crown banking and the Corporation of the United States in Washington, D.C., the military capital of the world. Also note that Francis has deep ties to the missing generation in Argentina in the 70s with his communist-leaning political ties. This guy is a first-class dirtbag. The big question is, why can't President Nelson, a fellow Mason no doubt, can't see this? Okay, well, thank you. Got 3 replies. It says view 3 replies. Let's see, what we got here? All right, I gave a reply, but I don't think I'm going to worry about it. Well, why not? Sure. Let's see what my comment was. Well put. I continue to continue the thought. We will learn why you do not own anything, because you are property. You do not own any real property in Elodium. You only hold a certain amount of control in it. In a state in the United States, because when we get back through the corporate interests and to the divine right of kings, everything is done through the authority of and claimed by the Vatican, so far as ownership of real property is concerned. Thus, by paying your rent in the form of property taxes, these terms are enforced by the agents of the monarchy representing the crown as princes and princesses of the Holy Roman Empire, who partake of the Black Mass of ancient date and the true blood atonement doctrine is practiced in their satanic rituals, common to the secretive societies which they operate and control through societies like the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits, the Jesuit order, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, the Knights of Malta, the Knights of the Garter, the Order of St. John of Jerusalem, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Rosicrucians, and various rites of Freemasonry, whose high-ranking members we see in positions of power and influence politically and in business and in religion, because in the end, everything is commerce, and everything that you think is publicly owned by the people, for the people, and of the people, by the people, for the people, are actually privately owned plantations to which you belong as an asset, and you have no rights of ownership. Okay, so there I linked to my website, and I'm linking to the video on RCC and LDS JW Pedophilia Network there, it looks like, which, you know, is a good link. It's a good link. The Secret Combinations one is also a good one. I don't have that there for that topic. So, yes, did I sound a little unsupportive of the LDS leadership and the Vatican leadership there? And of what they and the Freemasons who run our society tell us is our reality and our freedom and our economic standing? Well, anyway, let's see what this person has to say. Shall we see who it is? Hector Cordova. Hector says, when we don't understand this type of history, and the one registered over almost more than 1,500 years, people think that their captors are such wonderful men, when they're tyrants and shed so much blood for centuries. The leopard never changes its spots. The times for persecution is almost here, and this time, while run like a big gigantic lawnmower. I think there was some voice-to-text concerns here. That people will never know we are under control of sinister powers. I know your stands about Christianity, but I admire your boldness. And being what you are, you can put 2 and 2 together. My respect for you, man. Thanks. When the ones professed Christians are so dumbed down, what a shame, don't understand neither history or prophecy. If they would stop listening to these clowns so much, suffering could be avoided. but the blind follow the blind. Both will fall into the ditch. I'm a believer, and nothing will change that. I'm for Christ. I found more sense with you, Dodger, than the Christians. That's why I don't call myself a Bible believer, because their beliefs are so far away from the sacred book that it's the only safe way to separate myself from the bunch, or the bunk. Never the majority is right. That is always the rule. The law that has control over everyone and everything is a papal bull issued around 1494. It said that was written rather than paper, it was written on human skin. But they never will tell you that because it will shock the people. And what reality is more incredible than fiction? And reality is more incredible than fiction. People live in fiction and denial, but if they know what some people know, they will go nuts. More than they already are. What do you guys think? So Hector's asking for some input, and I responded. And I apologize. It looks like there was some voice-to-text errors in Hector's comment there, and that's a problem I tend to have, and that makes it a little more difficult. Okay. I commented back and I said, I definitely agree with you, Hector, about truth being stranger than fiction. Sometimes, and unfortunately, that seems to be the case. Or in other words, the truth is much more awful than most of us are capable of allowing ourselves to comprehend. People talk about Mormons having problems recognizing the quandary that the brethren are in as they lie over and over to cover their tracks, that we have problems with cognitive dissonance. However, all of us have a level of cognitive dissonance protecting our belief systems from that truth, from truth that is too painful for us to realize is the case. As we would all like to have hope and happiness, which is difficult or impossible to have on a long-term basis if we see or even believe that our situation is hopeless, and that we indeed are ruled by psychopaths through a system of corporate governance in which the owners control the boards of directors of corporations, including those that are called government, and falsely believed to be of, by, and for the people in a democratic Republican system, which unfortunately is just a facade, as we are owned and our governments are privately owned plantations whose officers generally tend to be initiates of the occult and members of secretive orders. All right, and then I give the Secret Society, Secret Combinations web page link there on that one. Okay, so I'm going to get to some of my favorite ones here too. All right, here we got When Pigs Fly. WPF has always been one of my favorite commenters. Okay, and what does he have to say here? I've been saying Chief Clown Nelson and his 12 minions are satanic warlocks. When they grovel at the feet of known satanic government leaders and satanic religious leaders, what more evidence is necessary? Yeah, gotta say I agree with that. All right. Here we got the $5 billion spent on the shopping mall would have helped relieve a lot of pain and suffering. That's Kim Mopar. Anyway, that definitely got a like. What Kim Mopar is responding to is in that video put out by the church. They've got the Pope and they got Nelson talking about how they joined together because they both just want to help alleviate suffering of the masses, of the mass proletariat, basically. And as we can see, so very, very little of the church's money actually goes to that. They look like big numbers, but comparatively speaking, with the tithing and the business interests of the church, it's minuscule what goes into these types of anything charitable. And what does go into something that's charitable probably turns a profit every time, because then they just beg for more money on, Mormon newsroom or something. Oh, look, here we are in Houston. See us? Kind of hard to see us in our yellow Mormon Helping Hands shirts as we sound a trumpet before us and show how righteous we are. As I mentioned in the video we're having these comments on, which is exactly what the New Testament character Jesus said not to do, But they have their reward, and in this case, it's financial. So I'm sure all you Christians like that remark. Yeah, it's all about profit. All these guys who've got their charitable organizations as fronts to help launder money, bring money in, get PR, and, all the fools look at them and go, oh, the Shriners Hospital, they're just those good little guys, those nice little men in the fez, riding mini bikes in the parade. They're so charitable. It's like those Jesuit priests backing the Catholic Empire and St. Jude's Hospital. Sure, those are some good things that get done for people, I'm sure. But, the PR they get out of it, it's a for-profit thing in the end, because it brings in loads of donations and brings, people to believe that these are good organizations, and ultimately that fills the coffers of the Catholic Church, the Freemasons, and the Mormons run by both of those in the end. Okay, so it's a nice cover, but I really want to respond to some people mouthing off to me. But we had some folks that I like here. Bubble popper. All right. Oh my God! I knew you would see this, and I know exactly what this visit means. Today marks something very significant for Mormons worldwide, and they don't even know it. Let me put my glasses back on. Trying to see in the glare of the light. As if joining the WCOR, is that meant to mean like World Council of Religions instead of World Council of Churches, in 2013. By the way, you know what? I couldn't find a record in the World Council of Churches website, although I had seen stuff referencing it, like in a newspaper even, quite a while back, and I put it in a video and showed, where that was coming from, some news conference thing. Anyway, the LDS leaders did publicly back the agenda of the World Council of Churches and praise them, I believe, in that. So, anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, if joining with the World Council of Churches, I believe, Bubble Popper is referring to, if that wasn't evident enough for the sellout Mormon Church, meeting with the Pope in the past day and calling him His Holiness says it all to those who are wide awake. Just as all LDS church members are unknowing Freemasons. Well, okay. Anyway, this is what Bubble Popper's saying. We definitely have partaken of the Freemasonic signs, tokens, and penalties in the endowment. As of today, they are also all now members of the Satanic Catholic Church, the beast system. Once the ring is kissed, and it is, the Morg leadership are all in. Is there any doubt that the Mormon Church is now 100% satanic? If I wasn't so amazed that this day has come, I would be crying for every deceived Mormon I know and love. This one act alone confirms it all to those who have eyes to see. Wowza, Dave, this is crazy. Sparing some of those with ears that get offended by acronyms like fornication under consent of the king. Okay, so, you know, I would have to say that it should be a wake-up call. I mean, if this happened when I was a full-on believing member of the church, I would have to say, WTF? What's going on with this? I'm quite familiar with what the rhetoric is and what the Book of Mormon says and what the Catholic Church has done and what they represent. And I mean, I knew that for a long time. So, it's just crazy to say, like Ballard was saying there, oh, look, we're hand in hand partners with the Catholic Church. Look at all these, all these projects we've done together in 45 countries or something like that. And that did disturb me back in the day. I didn't know all those statistics, but I became aware that the church was giving money to Catholic charities, and they're like, they just use the money more efficiently, and they're already set up. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is like hand in hand with Satan's official church on the earth, basically. Sorry, Satanists. The Roman Catholic Church is way bigger than you. So and actually, Satan, like modern day, whatever Levian Satanism preaches, they sound rational and good in some of the doctrines that you hear them publicizing. I don't know what the connection is between the folks who are ritualistic and do all those terrible things, which our leaders are no doubt involved with as they parade around as what we would call holy men, not realizing that's just a reference, I believe, to sun god worship, helio worship. I think that the language would indicate that. So, yeah, this would shock me. It would really shock me. It's like, right, the true church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, as Gordon B. Hinckley like to call it, going hand in hand with the church of the devil, working together in harmony. And here we've got people that are like commenting, saying that kind of stuff. I mean, they're not saying the church of the devil. They're just like, right here, what a fantastic day in which we live. The temple in Rome is among the most exciting events of our day. I'm so grateful. I just want to stop real quick. Thanks, Bubble Popper. That was a really good comment. I'm so grateful to be a member of this incredible faith. I can't wait to go to Rome. No, it's not appalling. It's exciting. It's amazing. Yes, I'm mocking you, Valiant for Christ. We've had some discussion, and I think you weren't super nice. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt at first, if they're like, saying something that I don't agree with, but, hey. Right, I'm clicking. Hello. Internet is it's not doing too well. Well, oh well. I guess we're going to see that one right now. Here's another one. Well, the church is going to thrash the nations and fears upon all people. All right. Let's get back to this one. So, Valiant for Christ. All right. That was nice. I'm like, thanks for commenting. Watching, however, I'd like you to think about the following observation and ask, how consistent are these 180-degree changes in the attitude of Jesus and the apostles, falling in line with the glory of the beast, according to what we have been told by prophets such as Brigham Young and John Taylor and Orson Pratt and Parley P. Pratt? Well, I see that you've been thoroughly indoctrinated. However, do you not see any contradiction in the words of the brethren now to those in the past who are much more in line with the Book of Mormon, which clearly describe the Catholic Church as the chief element of the great and abominable church of the devil, and the rest of the Christian churches as part of it, to which Joseph Smith was alleged to be told not to go not after them. For their ministers were all corrupt and their organizations were abominations. The narrative that Latter-day Saints are guided by an all-knowing, unchanging, and virtuous God through righteous brethren is contradicted constantly in Scripture, which contradict one another, and leaders which contradict each other, as They have covered up historical changes, and the deception continues in the Gospel Topics essays and elsewhere, and the doctrines change sometimes 180 degrees, and now the pedophile pope and priests are praised as wonderful by LDS corporate directors parading as apostles. So, that's what I had to say. Yeah, I'll skip some more of my comments. You can read them if you want. Let's see what the Valiant for Christ says. Shoot, I don't want to read that one. Alright, well, what the heck, I'll read that one. Valiant for Christ says, when was the last time you were able to enter one of these wonderful temples with a desire to be the best you? Temples are awesome for self-appraisal and self-examination. And to have this magnificent edifice in such a famous Mediterranean city as Rome, where Peter and Paul taught, well, that only adds to the experience. Go back and read the first vision again, and try to understand what Joseph Smith was actually told. It was the creeds of the fallen church that was corrupt, the path the professors thought was complete, which caused them to stop short of being all they could be. The temple, on the other hand, helps us move closer to who we can be. I actually love the openness of the church today. I'm sorry it bothers you. So I've got a little bit of false pretense going here, and this is kind of the typical, what appears to be dishonest rhetoric here. I'm sorry it bothers you that the church is so open and honest. Now, the church is not open and honest. They lie to us deliberately in the Gospel Topics essays. Nothing has changed. They just are forced to try to mitigate the mass exodus from the church based on people discovering the rewriting of the history they lie about and all this sort of thing. So they've addressed some issues, but they've addressed them rather dishonestly. It's just that they've, put a seer stone out of the First Presidency vault on LDS.org, and then they just try to rationalize why they hid it for the last 100 or so years, right? And just tell us, all kinds of things that try to make it sound okay. Try to make the way Joseph Smith womanized sound okay, and they call it plural marriage. They never address the spiritual wife system. They address the DNA slight problem of 99.4% of Native Americans tested showing they're not Israelites. They didn't come from Jerusalem. They came from Asia, East Asia, not the Middle East. They use so much deception to try to make it sound like it's no big deal. Yeah, and the race and priesthood, the Danites. I mean, they just BS one thing after another. And the Book of Abraham is the most blatant, I think, as they try to avoid the fact that it was, absolutely proven to be complete freaking fraud, and they just say, no. Joseph Smith was just inspired to make this by God after he looked at the completely unrelated Egyptian funerary text. Well, Joseph Smith clearly said that the book or the contents of the papyrus were written by the hand of Abraham himself. And they just try to make it's no big deal that he lied about that. He got inspired to write things that are still filled with anachronisms and mistakes, and it's worse than the Book of Mormon. But the only way you can find out is to pray. No, that's not true at all. You can clearly see that he lied about it being written by Abraham. It has nothing to do with Abraham. It's filled with false information, which an all-knowing, unchanging God wouldn't, inspire anyone with. Yeah. And the Egyptian alphabet was written along with it. Was translated by Joseph Smith along with it, and it was 100% BS. Yeah. And yeah. Always, I've got to say, please open your scriptures. Go to the book of Abraham and the Pearl of Great Price. Look at facsimile 2. See the little man upside down in figure 7. And see what Joseph Smith said about that. And notice that it's gay porn. And that's your dear Heavenly Father talking to 2 dudes. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to try to keep this one clean enough and stay away from what the Heavenly Father was doing. But it's obscene and it's revolting. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's like a bishop's interview. It's just showing what's going on under the desk with some of these guys when they're asking very explicit questions to girls who have given the wrong answer about whether or not they kept the law of chastity, the Lord's law, that is just made up as behavioral control. So, I don't want to talk smack about all bishops. There's a lot of good guys out there that I don't know exactly how they deal with this stuff, but I'm sure they work on a good conscience and they don't ask the types of questions that you might see on Sam Young's site. But nobody should have that opportunity to be one-on-one with your kids or your wife, behind closed doors. It's completely inappropriate, and some of these guys really abuse that opportunity. Okay. Wow. Either this is totally Orwellian deception, or they will love being total slaves, thinking that they are free men, or that this is a troll, because with the unlimited amount of evidence, you can't penetrate his reason like an automation. Amazing times. I think there were some errors in the voice to text there, but I think I got some of the gist of that. Can you believe he made this video? Perhaps you can reason with him. He won't listen to me. Too far gone, I think. Oh, so valiant for Christ is talking smack about me. Then says, I'm not calling you names. Oh, you don't want me to call you Dodger? Seriously? It says, won't answer the questions that I post. And let's get off this thread. Okay. Bubble popper. Meanwhile, all gaslit Mormon folk worldwide see no conspiracy about this powwow. They think it's a great thing that all the world's religions are gathering under the Pope to create more unity. I mean, what could go wrong? I think most Mormons aren't thinking it's, everybody's gathering under the Pope, even though it's obviously the case, as Bubble Pointer's pointing out. They think, the one true church is going to recruit people from the Catholics, or, isn't it nice we put away our differences? Yeah, it's just like God and Satan getting together and having a party. Last time I read about that in the scriptures, didn't work too well for the guy Job, who was basically becoming the object of their friendly little gentleman's bet, and wound up losing his whole family and being tortured and, all kinds of horrible stuff. But it's okay. He was faithful in his suffering. God won the bet and rewarded Job with, a different family and more, property. Yeah. God's such a great guy, isn't he? Seriously. Okay. Here we go. Bubble popper again. Oh, and did you notice how long this boys club meeting ran? Check this out. This little nugget out from the Catholic News. The website reported that the meeting with the Pope lasted 33 minutes. Those of you who are familiar with the occult, Freemasonry, like I said, you've just got all these little things built into so much that we're presented with. There is so much symbolism, and that's the way it is. Okay, and so when pigs fly responded to Bubble Popper saying, 33, just a random coincidence, right? Kind of like how the Mormons eulogized their dead leaders, saying he was a man for all seasons. A subtle reference to Thomas Murderer Moore. Is this eulogy a subtle little message to the great horror that Mormon leaders were always loyal and submissive to the Pope? The evidence abounds showing the satanic nature of the Mormon cult. Church, cult, church. When did the leaders of Mormonism decide ecumenism? Ecumenism. Yeah, ecumenical is easier to say for me. With the abomination called the Catholic Church was a good idea. Sort of undermines the idea that the Mormon church, cult, is the only true church, cult, especially when the Mormon satanic warlocks kiss the pagan pope's ring, demonstrating their subjection to his supposed authority. How perverse. Good thoughts, WPF. Really good thoughts. Corporate governance. Who owns the Mormon corporations? Who owns the corporation of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Who owns those shares? What corporate interests own those shares? You know, our cities, states, and counties have to report investments in publicly traded stuff on their CAFRs, their comprehensive annual financial reports, and we can see, you know, their private investments and that they are privately owned plantations and they're investing worldwide, but we can't see their investments in the churches. They can't because they're not traded like on, you know, on the same venues there. So who owns these shares? You know, any trading is privately done. Any purchase of stock interest, and we've seen references to to Brigham Young and his involvement with Kuhn and Loeb, a Rothschild controlled interest, and we've seen references to he was a Heber J. Grant, you know, right back about then. I think it was Heber J. Grant that basically gambled the church properties, mortgaging them to get some money to invest in the sugar beet industry, I believe. And then things didn't go so well. And who was that with? Was that like Union Bank of New York? Wasn't that pretty much a Rockefeller-controlled bank? So when they defaulted on that loan, what happened? Were shares of the company, given to satisfy that? These are part of the finances that we just don't see, and probably part of the reason we don't see them. So someone, something, some person, if we're going to call a corporation a person, owns the stock and therefore the shares in LDS Inc. and controls the board of directors. So that's a very real thing. So, these things, I believe, are just outward manifestations getting us used to the idea of what has actually been the case for quite some time, that the LDS Church is not autonomous, and not at all. Okay, let's go some more here. I have to pause this. I really wanted to see most recent stuff here. Okay. All right. When pigs fly. When pigs fly says, what the 5 billion? When malls are going out of style. So we're referring to the City Creek Mall with the billion or multi-billion dollar investment on a for-profit basis by the church, as opposed to actually doing what they so piously claim is their concern, helping people. When malls are going out of style and retail companies are closing stores at a rate never before seen, sounds like a financial disaster in the making. Is the church going to start selling temples and ward houses to cover their losses? I think I've heard rumors of selling ward houses, not temples yet. Hey, the electrical bill's going down, huh? When the oppression of your Sabbath day is lessened by 33%, shortening it to just 2 sessions instead of 3. That was nice, and it's saving the corporation money, making it more efficient, and people are less bored, and maybe they think the church is getting cooler. Yeah, women don't have to veil their faces or promise to obey their husbands in the temple. They're getting so PC. But let's continue. Let's continue. I just wanted to note that the reason to join the church, it's not for all these other little spiffs that try to make it look nice. It's either you is or you ain't going to be with your family forever because you obey these guys. And since they're a bunch of lying Luciferian Freemason pieces of trash, pretty sure those ordinances don't do squat for you. I'm calling this fraud. All right, going forward, is the church going to start selling temples or ward houses to cover their losses, or just steal more from its parishioners, or just tell some more lies and steal from its gullible new members before they catch on? Is the Mormon church operated like a normal corporation? If the Mormon church operated like a normal corporation, wouldn't it be paying members, shareholders, a dividend rather than lying to them and defrauding them out of even more and more money? I'm pretty sure the 13 are really lying satanic warlocks. Okay, WPF, I'm going to have to point out something that I kind of disagree with you on here. And that's showing the members as shareholders. The church does operate like a normal corporation, and profits to its owners, its owning shareholders, is a priority. But there's this club called shareholders, like George Carlin might say, and you ain't in it. That's the difference. Members of the church at large are not shareholders. Sure, some of the shareholders could be members, but you're not a shareholder. And this is something I took. I pointed out when Ryan McKnight, who does the Mormon WikiLeaks, called members. He didn't call them shareholders. He called them. What did he call them? Stakeholders. And that kind of sounded a lot like shareholders to me. And I pointed this out, and Ryan said, "Hey, let's look at the definition of a stakeholder." And community members affected by something, a business in their area, can be called a stakeholder because they have a stake in what happens. They may not. They will be affected by it. So, Ryan was technically okay saying what he said. However, shareholders, we are not. What are we? Well, we're customers. We're customers. We're buying eternal life and our families together forever with us, happiness in a future life through obedience to whatever the heck these board of director guys tell us we have to do to be fully valiant. That's what we think we're buying, and it's a fraud. And they're not responsible for delivering the product to us. The product is delivered by the person they call God in another life after you're dead, completely absolving them of delivery of the product. It's just a marvelous scam. And yeah, it's horrible. It's horribly deceptive. But what we can see is that there are promises made by their God in their scriptures that he does not fulfill in this life, where we are promised, like in the pride cycle illustrated in the Book of Mormon, how you start keeping these commandments and you'll just immediately be blessed. And well, I've proven that in my own life to be complete bullshit. Okay. How far are we into this? 44 minutes. I really appreciate people's comments here, and we've got some new commenters and we've got some new subscribers, and I wanted to bash Valiant for Christ a little bit more. Because there was some, kind of avoidance and some dishonesty I felt there. Oh yeah, like I really meant, the name calling was about Dodger game. No, he called me faithless. Well, I am faithless in your God, but the way it was said was to, bring that negative connotation that we get. Always these purposeful associations that are meant to discredit. Because if you're faithless, that's always associated with being something bad. You dirty anti-Mormon apostate, you apostate. You anti-Mormon, you were probably helpful. Like those Missourians and Illinois people that were persecuting the saints. Yeah, there's always a connotation. It's hate speech. You're giving hate speech because the church is positive and you're just being negative. Being negative? By revealing that they're lying to you? Sorry if that's negative, but, these people committing fraud against you who know. They know that they're misrepresenting the church history. They know that they are not what they claim to be. These board of directors guys, these apostles, they know that they're lying. Jeffrey Holland knew he was lying when he was using his NLP tactics, pretending to be emotional and hold back tears when he told us Joseph Smith and Hiram, they were martyred because they wouldn't deny the truth of the Book of Mormon. And he knew full well he was lying because he knew, why they were in Carthage. And why was that? Because Joseph Smith broke the law. He incited a riot, and his mayor ordered the destruction of private property, the press owned by William Law, which was outing him for the spiritual wife system and for his lies. And that was a crime. And that is why they were in Carthage, not because they wouldn't deny the truth of the Book of Mormon, which Jeffrey Holland knew as an apostle, and he was lying and using NLP to make it look like he was emotionally attached to the idea that Joseph Smith and Hiram died the way he was saying, and for the reasons he was knowingly falsely representing. That's what these guys are like. They know that they're lying. They know that they're deceiving. They know that they are teaching things that destroy lives, that cause the massive amounts of youth suicide in Utah, and the antidepressant use by, children and discouraged wives. And dudes do have these problems too. It's just that, Mormon women are well noted for this. Keep it simple. Okay, this is disgusting, but not too surprising. Things are really moving fast these days. Mormonism is aligning itself with the NWO, One World Religion. They may say they're opening a temple in Rome, but that's not the real reason they're there. I thank God I got out of Satan's synagogue. Anybody with half a brain knows this Pope is an antichrist. We're in the last days. Okay, keep it simple. We don't agree on a few things. First of all, being an antichrist or the antichrist would be good, because the whole Jesus myth just screws people over. Yeah. Those who don't hold Jesus higher than their family members, or are not loyal to Jesus instead of their family, are not worthy of him, he teaches. And the whole Christian thing, I know you're not Catholic. Keep It Simple's a good person, I'm sure of that. But I think being an or the Antichrist is a good thing, because the Christian cult was just made up to enslave people, and it was done by the Roman aristocracy. It may not have been on a national basis originally when the Gospels were commissioned and invented to create that pacifist Messiah, most likely for the Flavian family. Flavius Josephus. Yeah. either recruited or created to try to create some kind of evidence that actually one historian, noted that Jesus was real because everybody else didn't seem to notice he was there. That was a historian, and yeah. Anyway, this was made to do the same thing that all religions tend to be made for, which is to deify and create loyalty to the leadership of the plantation. And in this case, we're talking about the Roman Empire, which is now what we're always talking about, because pretty much all these plantations are owned and controlled by the Roman Empire at this point. So that's why we have religion, whether it's deification of a pharaoh or a king or a queen or the office of president of the United States. It causes loyalty so that people believe God wants us to be loyal to our leaders. Give that to Caesar that which is Caesar's, and to God which is God's. So you pay tithing and taxes to these folks that support all these horrible wars and enslave the people and create giant satanic sacrifices on the battlefields. Yeah, and profit in the companies that they are invested in through the system that I've described, discussing the corporate governance model. So, yeah, I'm not in complete agreement with the whole Jesus is good thing. I'm actually in complete opposition to that. But at least to keep it simple, I agree on some things, and because we're both authentic and not trying to BS anybody, we are friends. Yep. I hope their plane crashes over the ocean. Keep it simple. Naughty, naughty. Would Jesus say that? I don't know. Jesus is supposed to be backing that Yahweh dude, or be him maybe. And that guy was all about killing innocent people and those who didn't worship him properly. So, yeah. Stevie Shore. This is a reference to the Catholic Church organization and the wrongs they have done in the past. Vengeance is the Lord's. This has nothing to do with those that are living to the best of their ability according to their faith. How all religions that remain righteous in the last days will be lifted up and spared to dwell in the millennium and not be burnt during the second coming. Yeah, this is a doctrine that's basically taught in the church. And it contrasts or contradicts what we find in LDS scripture. Church of the devil will be hewn down, cut to the ground, and all those belong to it will be essentially toast. That's what you're going to find in the Book of Mormon. On the Doctrine and Covenants, you're going to hell if you're a member of one of these other churches. However, we are now taught something different, but do we have a revelation that says, oh, if you're trying to do the best you can, God's going to be kind to you because that's what a kind God would do. But we don't have a kind God. We have a God that talks about, having you eaten alive by maggots. The maggots will eat the flesh off your bones, and your eyes shall fall from their sockets. Because he's pretty wrathful. That's section 29 of the Doctrine and Covenants, by the way, as I recall. The wrath of God. Yeah. Because God is vitriolic in the Bible and in the Doctrine and Covenants. So all this, how he's about love and kindness and goodness is, it's just oxymoronic with the deeds of this God and his actions as portrayed, and then he's all about love, and it's just it's crazy. Okay, but anyway, this person is accurately representing the type of things that Mormons are taught, because they're taught that your heavenly Father is so loving. Well, try reading your scriptures. He's not. He's not. Fear and tremble and all this stuff, and burning people, burn all the kids and women alive in Sodom and Gomorrah too, right? What did they do wrong? Ordered the the massacre of many people in the Old Testament. I always harp on, the murder of the, relatives of Moses, basically, the Midianites, where he got the priesthood, according to Joseph Smith. Go ahead, just kill them, except for the virgins, give them to the soldiers, they can have some fun. The priests have a little fun, maybe. It doesn't say the priests get to have some fun raping these girls. It just says they can sacrifice them along with some animals in an heave offering. Yeah, when you're an animal, any kind of offering, you don't do well. And so that was what's happening to the women. Numbers chapter 31. And go ahead, Moses just says, yeah, go ahead and have some fun with these girls. We save you the virgins, kill all the moms, the little boys too. They already killed the dads. That's your God. Jesus endorses that dude. So, I just can't get on board with the God of Israel. Can't do it. He's a psychopath, self-described, egotistical psychopath. I mean, the dude makes Trump look, like he's not a misogynist and he's not, whatever. Yeah. No, I don't like Donald Trump. Don't like him. And I'm not in the black and white thing saying, well, your only other choice is, Hillary Clinton. To stand up for. No, I can't stand for any of those, shills of Zionism or the CFR or Councils of 13 and 33 or the Committee of 300 or the Bilderberg Organization or the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Well, that's pretty much Britain, right? The Round Table, all these people, they're not here serving you. They serve the corporation owning the plantation. They serve their owners, the shareholders, the real shareholders of the plantation that you live in, or the plantations that you live in. Okay. But this person seemed to be authentic. Wasn't talking smack to me. Wasn't using the techniques that Valiant for Christ was, and so I'm going to respond. I did respond. What did I say here? So the doctrine taught in the Book of Mormon is now false doctrine. You're admitting going with the contradictions to the Book of Mormon teachings that are given, that the brethren now, as well as the contradictions to the Book of Mormon teaching that you did not accept Jesus in this life, you're definitely going to hell, which was contradicted in sections 19 and section 76. Then we ask you, how could it be that the Book of Mormon contains the fullness of the gospel? So I'm giving some little wake-up contradictions to this person, okay? This is Steve, if it most certainly did not contain salvation for the dead, the 3 kingdoms of glory, the 3 degrees of glory, the premortal existence, etc., unless you want to try to count the random interpretation of one verse in Alma chapter 13 regarding the premortal existence. Anyway, this is nothing close to containing the fullness of the gospel as preached in Mormonism. So that statement right there is disproven multiple times when it did not contain the doctrines Mormons are most known for, other than condemning the practice of polygamy and condemning David and his activities. But section 132 has the Lord approving. The Israelite God gives his approval to the actions of David in his polygamy, except for with Bathsheba. And none of those covers Joseph Smith stealing other men's wives, nor the spiritual wife system, and the hundreds of girls enslaved in Nauvoo. The Book of Mormon condemns the great and abominable church, okay, and says it is founded by the devil, and that it would continuously seek to drag people down to hell. Oh, and doing the best they can as pedophiles is not exactly a very high bar of righteousness, which the Catholic Church is filled with right to the top. All right, and then I give a link there. So I'm trying to wake this person up. I'm not being unkind. I'm just throwing some evidence right down in this comment, saying, what you're saying here isn't. It's not making sense. In other words, the doctrine that you're taught is not consistent with what you've got in other Mormon scripture, and that's a pattern. So, trying to wake somebody up. I like it when we have people that are, believing LDS that comment and I think that person was sincerely believing. I think Valiant for Christ, after reviewing a number of things, it's just a shill that's probably could be getting paid, at arm's length or something. Kind of like three Mormons getting funded by More Good Foundation. Person looks like a shill, and yeah, it's disgusting. So this video has done really well. It's the first video I've ever done that's gotten 5,000 minutes in the first day, but it did. Now real time is cutting it off because I've got see that's what I need to go lifetime on it. No. I need to go lifetime just on that. Anyway, it went over 5,000, and now because of the days changing, it's not showing exactly where it's at. So we got a real uptick here. We've gotten some videos that are doing pretty well for me. I think maybe I'm shadow banned, but we're up. We're way up right now with view time. So you look in the last 28 days. See, look where we are. Way above where we were in the previous. And if we look here at the last 90 days, so we can see, wham! Yeah, so we're getting the word out a little bit more, and I'm hoping that this video really does well and helps people to just get a little shock factor and go, wait a minute, well, what's up with 15 apostles going to Rome and then basically kissing ass on the Pope? That ought to wake somebody up. But apparently the church leaders think that they've done enough of this conditioning of people to give the types of responses I've seen here by two people pro LDS. Like it's a great thing, and we can walk hand in hand with the leader of what they basically call Satan's church in the Book of Mormon. So have they been conditioned sufficiently to reveal that they are in fact working together? And will the Mormons wake up and realize that the LDS church is not autonomous? It's owned by a much more rich and powerful group than even this church is. And that's the matter of fact. That's what the facts are on this. And it's a sad thing that so many people believe something that drags people down, takes their time, takes their money, teaches doctrines which cause people to feel like crap about themselves, and many of them committing suicide in Utah that are youth. 511 views, yay! Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up here. I got to get some other stuff done. Where did the day go? Thanks for all your participation. Hope you share these videos. Share this this one from yesterday, LDS First Presidency, Quorum of the 12, groveling in the Vatican. Share the 101 LDS teachings videos that I had to either reconcile or shelf until I obviously couldn't anymore. How Mormonism helped destroy my family and kill my son. I put out some pretty decent videos recently, some hard-hitting ones, and I've kind of come out on my own personal page on Facebook. And yeah, a friend of mine who's a bishop's like, wow, we obviously don't agree on this stuff anymore. And but he's a really good guy, and it's probably been some shock factors to some people. So I'm laying down some of these videos on my personal Facebook, as well as my Dodger Davidson persona there to go along with the Dodger game. So sorry for rambling so much. LDS, JW, RCC, pedophilia, Satanism, SRA, and human sacrifice and Latter-day Satanism. I really recommend watching, commenting, liking, and sharing that video. Push that one too, because these pieces of crap need to be stopped. They need to stop harming the children. I'm out, people. Like, subscribe, do some things to help this happen, because YouTube, probably has me shadow banned, and will only be a portion of what I'm doing to ultimately accomplish a lot more than just what you'll find on YouTube. Goodbye. I'm out.